going back. I'm like, all the way down.
Yeah, put it, get it out of my arm's reach. I'll reach back over and get it if you tell me you want. I'm gonna stay away from it.
Am I the only one that showed up on Tuesday? You're welcome to. I mean, I'll own it. I'll own it.
I've done it. I've showed up.
You did too?
We're moments away.
I haven't heard from them. I saw Cannon walk.
They actually show up.
I never looked at the date.
The draft minutes said Tuesday, the 23rd.
Right.
That's how we left it at the last.
I was getting a little cross-eyed.
I'm sorry
trying to
about
figure-
that. That's on me.
I figured it out once.
I walked in and saw Cannon Watson and David Emmer. I'm like, what am I doing here? I guess
Well, that's been me.
Doug, oh well, I should have.
It is 7 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to open the Planning Commission meeting Thursday, April 23rd. With that, I would like to take a roll just to make sure that we have a quorum here. Mr. Perry?
Present.
Mr. Page? Absent, okay. Mr. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here?
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes, here.
Mr. Fuller?
Present.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
And Mr. Pringlin. We do have a quorum. Okay. With that, with the invocation, I think it's important that we recognize and remember the families of the servicemen and women that have lost their lives overseas in the conflicts there, and pray for them. And I think we also need to find a way to pray for the world leaders so that we can find a way to move towards peace, not only in the Middle East, but also in Russia and Ukraine. Thank you.
Amen, brother.
Do we have any conflict of interest? Okay. With that, I'm going to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get the sheet to sign.
Okay, good. Next on the agenda would be the approval of minutes from last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review? I only found one little comment. And this, I'm doing it in honor of Rhett, who's not here because he helps us a lot. If we, just on page 5 of the minutes from the last meeting, there's under transportation, if we can just change the word to site in there. Other than that, I do think we all need to recognize and know how hard Karen works on these to get these done. So thank you. Mr. Love, we have a public hearing tonight. Could you give us a little bit of overview?
Yes, sir. So, the county received an application from Prince Edward Solar 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's on the minutes. My apologies. Thank you, Karen. She is on the ball. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the one change?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, let's go around the room. Okay. Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yep.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
And Mr. Pringlin. Minutes are approved. Thank you very much, Karen.
Let me proceed.
I'm sorry, please proceed.
Okay.
Mr. Love?
So tonight, the public hearing is consideration of a special use permit for a 3.8 megawatt solar energy facility. The county received this application from Prince Edward Solar 2, LLC, which is a subsidiary of New Energy Equity LLC. The purpose of this is to twofold, to make a determination if this project is in substantial accord with the 2045 Prince Edward County Comprehensive Plan. This development is proposed on a 77.53 acre parcel denoted as tax map 043-A-36B. It's on a north side of Llama Road, right almost at its intersection with Thomas Jefferson. You cross the railroad track, and this site is right there at it. This property is zoned A1 pursuant to Virginia Code 15.2-2232. This is the public utility facility, so prior to construction or authorization of this facility, you're tasked with determining if the location, character, extent of this facility is a substantial accord with the comp plan. Prior to any recommendation of approval for the special use permit. This public hearing was properly advertised in the Farmville Herald. Adjoining property owners were sent letters, as well as Charlotte County, since this is within a half mile of the corporate limits, county boundary. Staff also prepared list of conditions using our updated template from our last. This has been an ongoing template that the board has had input on, like things like soil testing, which is now annual, and other items. So there's 45 conditions for your consideration. You can certainly add, subtract, or edit any of those. The existing conditions: this property is an open pasture with some timber in the rear. There are some single-family residential uses to the south. To the north is an approved but unbuilt community solar facility. Would that be to the north? To the east is a constructed facility. It's almost completed, with power's not on yet, to Mr. Francis Reed, that the board had approved previously. So you've got this site, the access to the Reed site actually goes through this site. Looking at the new comprehensive plan, there are some standards. I provided you with the table from there on best management practices, table 8.2 in your package. That has best management practices for locating these sites. It's specifically states siting of facilities should be away from and completely separated from view of natural, cultural, historic resources. That it does meet that. Facilities, including fencing and support equipment, should significantly be screened from, hold on, next page on that, apologize. From ground level view of adjacent properties and right-of-way by a buffer of 150 feet. It should be noted our setbacks in the ordinance is only 75. So this site was designed to the minimum standard. Thomas Jefferson Highway being a byway, a scenic byway, state designation, and then also those houses to the south, residential. Staff wanted to bring this to your attention, whether it would be consideration of additional landscaping or increasing that buffer in harmony with, of course, the applicant. But I did want to bring that to attention. That is in the comp plan. The comp plan is newer than our ordinance. The comp plan is a guide, not a regulation, but I wanted to bring that 150. That, after a lot of community meetings we had, some of the citizens felt that was a good number when you're looking at proximity to residences and historic things and byways. I'd be glad to answer any question you have of me. The applicant is here to give a presentation, I think, and then we've got a couple speakers during the public participation time.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Love from the board? Okay, with that, the applicant come up and to the podium.
Robert, do you have a way for me to get the presentation?
Uh,
I forgot to ask that when you were talking over today. So
Do you have a flash drive?
it doesn't work. I do.
I have one in my office. We take 1 minute, one or 2 minutes. I can make that happen.
Technology isn't working for me.
Well, Mr. Love's gone for that. I'll just kind of go over the guidelines for the special use permit when we open the public hearing. Again, anybody that's signed up will be able to speak for or against, and then I'll ask anybody either on the phone or in the audience here that maybe hasn't signed up if they'd like to speak for or against. What we do then is, after we take all that, we may ask the applicant to come back up or to respond to some questions that may come during the public hearing. Once that's done, we'll close the public hearing, and from there, we'll ask, the board will sit and talk and review and make questions come out, and possibly we'll come away with either we recommend it's accepted, we recommend to decline it, or we recommend to table it because there's additional things the board feels they may need, or some answers that need to be resolved before we can make a decision whether or not we're going to, again, accept or deny or decline, and possibly move it forward to the County Board of Supervisors. Typically, once we have a special use permit in front of us, if we approve that, then it goes to the County Board of Supervisors for their review and approval, which would be at 9 times out of 10, it's at their next public hearing or their next meeting, but they would have the same public hearing, posting and everything. So I appreciate your understanding how we run the special use permits and the public hearings.
We're almost ready.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Perfect. Good evening. Thank you for having me. This is my second project in Prince Edward County. Earlier, a couple years ago, I worked with Francis Reeve to work on another project, which, as Robert mentioned, is nearly operational. We went out there, and it's a gorgeous site. When we first got this site and I visited with Francis and drove it, I didn't understand how we could build in that area. It had some significant slope to it, and to see the project at this point, I'm really proud of it. It's a pretty cool site, and underneath it is beautiful growing grass. You can kind of just see down. It's cool looking. It's well fenced. It's a really good example of a site. Tonight, we have the Prince Edward Solar 2 project, which is on Mr. Elder's property. This is going to be our second project in the county, but in the area, we've done multiple projects. We've done projects now for about 11 years in community solar. We started in Minnesota, where our development team is based out of, our main company is based out of Maryland, Annapolis, and we merged two different companies together and kind of made a conglomerate that can take all the way from conception all the way into operation of a project. And so we are capable and understand the process from top to bottom. So we've done over 500 megawatts of projects. We've invested over $600 million during those projects. And again, we are capable of doing all of the phases of a solar project. This particular project is a 3.8 megawatt AC shared solar project. And so if you hear me say community solar, I apologize. Virginia is unique in calling it shared solar. It's often called community solar, and so I sometimes forget that I have to change my lingo here. But we are planning to do single access. When you see the arrays go north-south, it means that they track with the sun, so it's rotating. When they're facing east-west, it means that they're facing south, and they just are stationary. This site is a great location in the sense that with the trees along the south, once those trees that will be added, we don't expect any view shed from any neighbors or passerby. On the east side, we have a great group of trees. On the west side, we have topography. On the north side, it's going to be going up against another solar project. So this is a great location. Decommissioning is something that I definitely want to make sure that any questions that you guys have, we discuss. I think it's one of the biggest pieces that needs explanation. And so the best way that I can put decommissioning is that we have a formula that we run. We understand how much pilings and racking, how much acreage we have, how many panels we have. We have a formula that calculates in today's dollars with a 7.5% factor up, so increase on what we expect the cost to be in today's dollars. And then we also give you a dollar amount that would be for the longevity of the site, so generally a 35-year. And so you'll see two different numbers in there. But at the end of the day, the first number is like in today's dollars with that safety factor. And it's important to have this because at the end of this, after the soil has had its time to regenerate with the grass and whatnot, it can go right back into farming. And so that is the intention of the landowner, is once this is done, most likely his sons will be taking over the farm and they'll continue farming that area, but they'll have their pastures out there. So whether it's farmed for pasture land or for crops, it would be able to go right back into production. This does not have any expected impacts to the wetlands. So any rain that falls within the area should be mitigated with stormwater basins that should be able to take the rain that falls and absorb them into those, and then that would slowly dissipate into the watershed. You guys live in Virginia. You guys do not have filtration basins because you guys are pretty much at sea level, and so it does take longer than it may in Minnesota. However, the DEQ has done a very good job and has very strict rules, probably the strictest in the nation, on what that means. And so you will see deeper, broader stormwater basins in Virginia than you might otherwise in other areas. The only grading that I'm expecting is on the south side, and driving the property today with Andrew, there will be some grading. So I think I'll probably change the wording from little to no grading. I think there will be some grading along the treat area, but I think it'll be very similar to what we saw on Francis's just to the east there, in that when you have a single line, you have to get underneath it relatively the same topography. You can have some variation of a few feet, but you can't go from here to here because then they wouldn't line up. And so you do have to do some grading here. And I did this before I walked the site more recently. It's been a couple of years since I had been out there. And the developer who was on this project before me, he ended up retiring last week. And so, surprise, here I am. So luckily I do have the history, but little things like that I did want to bring up. I do think there will be a little bit of grading, kind of where you see the trees kind of on that south side. I think there'll have to be some there. Noise, it's not going to bother other people. Generally, when we look at these, where the inverters are on that north side, you're going to get dissipated within 100 feet to a noise level that is probably quieter than I speak. And it's just not going to be a big factor for the surrounding neighbors, especially the homes on the south side. There should be zero volume. Obviously, the volume on a site during the evening when it would be most impactful, it just isn't making noise because it's not creating power. We don't quite have the technology up to speed where we can get enough power out of moonlight. However, they're doing really cool things with that. We're not there in community solar. So during the day would be the only time that you would have impact from sound, but being at the north side there, we just don't expect it to impact any of the homes. And the final note on here is about savings. So community or shared solar is intended to save the community money. I am a subscriber to a project that's less than a mile from my personal home in Minnesota. I helped develop the project. I met with my city. I worked through the process and it's operational now. I save 10% on mine. So on average during the winter months, I save anywhere from $10 to $20. I have a pool heater that's electric, so in the summers it racks up to maybe $25 to $30. But that's just 10% savings. So if I was gonna pay $300 for electricity, I'd pay $270 instead. It's just savings. I don't have to subscribe to it in the sense that there isn't like a monthly fee that I pay. I'm just part of this community of users for this. And so that's the savings that we're talking about. Shared solar, we're on to our second iteration. We're finishing up the first iteration. It was signed into law in 2020, and so the projects that would be coming before you now would be part of the second iteration. Once, I think it's 90% of the first iteration is operational, then they unlock the second. There's a waiting list that people are getting onto, but it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same law. There's some incentive changes and whatnot, but the basis of that law is pretty much the same. We went through our understanding of the regulations and the guidelines, and we feel that we're consistent with the zoning for this area. We believe that it is permitted within the A1 agricultural district with a special use permit, which is why we're before you. We do plan to protect the natural resources through measures of the county and the DEQ. The stormwater basins are a big piece of that. The project is completely enclosed, and so there's a locked gate. Obviously, people that need to get in there would have access to that. Your police and fire would either be daisy chained in or have the code for a lockbox, depending on what type of lock it has, but they would have full 24/7 access as needed. And then any state and federal permits that are required to, in addition to the county permits, we would obviously need to get also. Shared solar provides a benefit to the community. And again, that's mainly through the subscription, but it also falls in play when you're dealing with some temporary jobs as the operation continues. I was talking with Andrew about this today, and I said, you got a project to the east, you got a project to the north in your project. Let's get everybody's heads together and let's see if we can do some agrivoltaics. So maybe sheep. And that's something that I would be happy to speak to all the parties in play and see if we couldn't make that happen. Obviously, it has to be everybody kind of needs to agree to do it to make it reasonable. But at the end of the day, we've done this in Virginia and many other areas, and it's a great way to continue farm use while having a secondary benefit in solar. Let's see, we also have, I talked about the jobs, the part-time employment through the projects, through, whether it's maintenance or a farmer nearby, having sheep, direct revenue to the county in lieu of additional taxes, and the siting agreement are the two main items. The siting agreement I spoke about earlier, and I understand that the one-time payment that we had suggested may not be up to the standard that the county is seeing today. And so I've already ran that by my kind of regional director for this, and he said whatever we need to do to get this project moving forwards, as long as it's reasonable and economical, we'll make that happen. And so ramping us up to 2,500 per megawatt AC is something that we can do. The other item that I wanted to look at is the rental amount. We have it $15.40 per megawatt annually. And Robert, I don't know if, when you and Griff were working on it, if you looked at that specifically about when that goes up another 10%, because it was 14. I'm going to do that, okay? I'll look that up, I'll get that information, and I'll pass it on and update the siting agreement and show that we're up to speed on that, so that, I think the way that he had it noted was like year 1, year 2, year 3. I'll probably put years next to it, so that if year 1 happens in 27 or 28 or 29, it doesn't fall out of alignment with what the state is recommending for that. So I'm going to do a little extra research into that. And then the final item is that it really doesn't create any extra strain on the resources of the community. So it's self-sufficient, it's secured, and it uses a resource that isn't being taken from anything except for the sun, which is going to be here whether we use it for solar or plants or something. It's here no matter what. So we're not going to need any extra schools. We shouldn't need, you can certainly find cases of fires, but they're pretty few and far between. It's usually a squirrel. They chew on a wire once in a while and get a little toasty. It just doesn't happen that often. So hopefully this doesn't happen, but there really shouldn't be any need for any additional resources. This might be hard for you guys to see, but I can share this with everybody in detail. Essentially what this product data sheet is saying is that over 95% of this is glass. So it's silica glass that's then silica sand that's then turned into silica glass. And then essentially beyond that, it's basically a bunch of little cell phone circuit boards in a panel. And so you have a little bit of rubber, you have your circuit board, and that's it. The only thing on this list that has any hazard to it is an extraordinarily small amount of lead if that's used, but it's in a solid state. And so there is no other hazardous chemicals in it. And it's really important to know that even if you had a catastrophic weather event, which we're seeing everywhere in the world, it's still not going to liquefy a heavy metal. These panels are made to absorb the damage like your windshield. And so it would dent it and shatter it, but it wouldn't just break into a million pieces and then fall into the ground and be an issue. They're made to take that impact. So even if you have baseball-sized hail, which just hit our friends in Madison, Wisconsin, just wrecked their siding, broke their car windows. If it hit our panels, it's just going to break the panel, and then the panel would either be recycled or thrown away and replaced. But it's not going to then release any hazards into the groundwater, which I think would be a major concern if that was the case, but it doesn't. We know this is the case because here are two examples of solar panels that are actually on a city's water reservoir. And so these have been there since 2018. They get tested on a regular basis. And the water has not shown any contamination from these panels. And so if this can go on a city's reservoir, I would hope it could go in a field and have the same results. Property values is an interesting topic. I never have a good answer for this, but here's my opinion of it. In the research that I've done, it doesn't have a substantial negative impact to neighbors' property values. What I found is that very large projects, thousands, tens of thousands of acres, have shown an impact to neighbors that are surrounded by them. But single parcel projects like shared solar has not shown a negative impact. And so in some cases, you show an impact that's less than 0.5% in the negative. and in some cases, you actually show a positive impact. And how I can equate that is that as much as you may not want to look at it, depending on your opinion of the view shed of it, it's a pretty good neighbor. It's not apartments building, it's not residential, it's not bothering you. Once it's up and running, it's just kind of doing its thing. And so plus or minus about 0.5% is really the difference that you see in a shared solar project or a community solar project, single parcel. We follow whatever the international code is, and so if 2012 international code is not the current code, we will follow whatever code is required. This is one of the main standards that we often follow, but if there's a 2021 or any other code, we would follow that. We are insured, and so we have a COI, or a certificate of insurance, that covers the project for the longevity of it. Generally, we submit that with the building permit, sometimes a little bit before, but once we are able to start building it, we have insurance to cover any issues before it's built. Not when it's built, before it's built, because we all know that things can happen on day one. So we want to make sure that we're covered. Again, we talked a little bit about decommissioning. I explained it about as well as I think. You can tell I can talk all night. I want to answer your questions on it. So I'm going to leave it here, and we can come back to this slide if you want me to, but at the end of the day, I did some explaining on it. I'm here to answer more questions about it. The one on the right is the one that we're going to be using, and so again, north-south, they'll all be facing that way, and as the sun comes up and sets, it will rotate with it. So you generally have a minimum height and a maximum height, and that's just as the topography underneath it is fluctuating. Your actual row of panels is pretty standard on its height. Here's a couple of our projects. I think these are 3 different projects. These are out of some projects that we've done in Minnesota. But outside of you guys getting to your seasons a little quicker than us, we're probably 3 weeks behind you guys right now. We actually have a pretty similar rural area. Once you get outside the Twin Cities to the west is where a lot of our projects are. And as you're going through your rural areas like this, a lot of the areas that I visit in western Minnesota look very similar. And then my last point is we strongly believe in following the rules, and we believe that landowners have rights also. And so sometimes that can come into play in that you'll get somebody that'll have a very strong opinion in opposition against it. And I just want to remind everybody that everybody's opinion absolutely matters. They should be heard. I'll do my best to answer any questions, but at the end of the day, I don't want to forget that these landowners, as long as we're following the rules that are written into the local AHJ's code, that they have rights to do reasonable things on their own property. And so we definitely want to remind everybody of that, because sometimes loud voices can overshadow other things. But our landowners are very important to us. I have a relationship with both of your landowners here, and we talk about our families, and we talk about the projects, and we talk about what's happening in the world. It's not just, here's a piece of paper to sign and we move on. I make relationships with these people, and I have picked up my phone 5 years after leaving an industry and got them in touch with somebody when I used to work for Verizon out in North Dakota, Bakken Fields. I found the right person, I got them in touch, and I'll continue to do that for these landowners. I will always pick up my phone for them. And I'm finally done. Questions?
Anybody, the board, any questions?
I'm just curious, and may not be specific to your application, but is there a reason why, is there any relationship with the other two, projects, one that's, already undertaken and the one proposed? Is there any relationship between you three?
So.
Or they're all three separate entities with separate, organizations?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
But I was the original developer along with JK. So JK was the land agent and I'm the permitting manager. And so us in tandem together originally worked with Francis. And then we met Andrew also. And so we did the development for Francis's project. And then we worked with a company called Summit Ridge Energy. They built the project. And then I would have to get a little bit of information on exactly where it stands now. But I worked with Luke over at Summit Ridge Energy, he's a great guy. I really got to know him well, and they're a great company. So we no longer are in possession of that project, but the development for Francis Reeve and Andrew Elder both were developed with us.
There's going to be no collaboration between the three entities?
Not necessarily, but again, if I can get a hold of them, there may be collaboration. I would like to look into doing the agrivoltaics, so there may be some collaboration in that way, but right now they are three separate projects.
That's where you mentioned possibly the sheep farming and things like that would have to be a collaboration between the three.
Yeah, I think it only makes sense. I don't necessarily think that having sheep in one paneled area is enough. Maybe if it was just a little extra supplement, but I think it makes the most sense if we were able to collaborate between all three. And so that may mean that it may not happen on day one for these projects. It may kind of be staggered, but I could see that happening. And this is a great example of, we're all working in, I don't think as other companies as competition. I just think there's enough of a pie to go around, and I'd like the opportunity to find a smart use for it, for all of them.
Any provisions for a well water source for sheep in the project?
So not off the bat, no, but that is something that's generally brought in. And so we would likely have to either find a close by energy source or we would have to bring in an energy source to power that well. And then obviously we would need water for them at each of the sites. But that's where the collaboration comes in, because it's not just as simple as, well, you just throw some sheep in there. There's considerations. You have to have access to all of them. You have to have probably a single point of contact that is moving the sheep between the different areas. You have to have water for them and other things. And that, if they have a head of 10 sheep, are those three areas enough? Or do you have even a fourth area that they fall back to? There's some coordination that would have to happen. But I just like the idea of starting that conversation to see if we can make it happen.
Some of the other ones have been done, they're hauling water.
Sure.
Seems a little redundant.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is the way that they do it, but I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to bury a line and bring it out, bring out power to these. You could bring it right along right off the main road. Because the access road on the north side basically it has access to all three. So you either bring it down the center of the road or you bring it down the side of the road, and then you can just split power between the three. So I think there's room for just common sense bringing a line out there. I am a developer, though. I may be wrong. I do not know everything.
Any other questions for the applicant?
David, you got one?
Did I hear you say there was a project directly to the north of this one?
Yes,
Yes,
the McClenny, it's not built yet.
Oh, so it's,
it's been approved. but-
okay, it's gonna be directly to the north? like-
Directly. It
direct.
touches it,
Yeah,
yes,
it touches
okay,
it.
okay.
It's on the borders, basically.
How many acres is that one?
about 30.
Yeah,
Just 30, so
yeah,
small.
it's 3-0.
Yeah, all three of these, I mean, Miss McClenny's, Miss McClenny and Miss Reeve, altogether, put this together, we're still probably under 100, just barely under 100.
Yeah, I
That
believe
was my
so.
next
There,
question.
there are three individual,
Yeah.
just for clarification, there's three individual projects, three individual LLCs, three individual owners. We're not mandating agrivoltaics, we said where practical and possible.
Yeah.
Like, different than our bigger site.
Okay, I just didn't see it on the, any of the
Yeah,
maps
the,
here, which made
the
me wonder.
easement to Ms. Reeve's site goes through Mr. Elder.
Right.
So the construction traffic is going through his property already at the front.
Okay. No, I just, again, I
Yeah.
didn't see it on the map.
And also, the interesting thing about these, just, I've been to all these sites, we're inspecting the Reeve site. The panels are there, when they got delivered, the connector that they intended is not the connector that's on the end of the wire when they ordered them, because they got a back order, so they're having to get an adapter. That's held that from getting a little bit closer to finishing. The work's been done, it's been great. These go out on distribution, your standard power poles. There is a transmission that runs through Miss Reeve's site, but it's not being utilized and not being tapped in because these come back to three-phase. Is that,
Yeah, that's correct. So the individual electrons are physically feeding into our homes. It is not going into the transmission lines and then being distributed from there. These are all going into the distribution network and then flowing downhill like a river would.
this energy actually does go into the local grid. That's a little bit
Again,
different
I
transmission.
didn't see it on the map.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the other project.
Yep.
And another question, you mentioned 8-foot wildlife-friendly fence. How is a 8-foot fence wildlife-friendly? What's the configuration or the makeup of the fence?
Yeah, generally you have a little bit smaller at the bottom and a little bit bigger at the top, and you have your, obviously your birds of prey and birds are flying right over it or through it. You have your mice and squirrels, hopefully not that many squirrels because they're dumb, getting in there and utilizing the area, but it's keeping, for the most part, most of the deer out and whatnot. I mean, we all know that if a deer gets spooked, it'll jump an 8-foot fence. They can jump that no problem, but for the most part, their paths will just rotate around that area. And so you'll see the deer paths go around it, and so you'll get smaller rodents and animals. You might get.
Is this a drawing that I'm 8-foot fixed, not fence? Are the openings larger at the bottom and they get gradually smaller as you go up, or am I looking at it backwards?
I think, I believe it's smaller at the bottom and bigger at the top.
Okay, if the wording is right, the grid looks larger at the bottom, but
That might be the
which
case.
would seem more wildlife friendly.
That's what I thought too, but I was just looking at Francis's and it was flipped. I can get clarification on that. I always thought it made more sense to have bigger at the bottom and smaller at the top. But I think if I looked at it today, they had it inverted, so it was smaller at the bottom and bigger at top.
If you'll get back to us on that, that would be wonderful.
I'll look into that, yeah.
We'll know by the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
It
other
would just
questions?
make sense that a larger grid at the bottom would allow larger mammals, foxes, groundhogs,
Yeah.
to pass through, which would make it wildlife friendly to me.
That's why I always thought that's how it was designed, but again, the site that I saw may be flipped upside down. So,
You see what I'm saying, John?
I mean, the drawing shows larger at the bottom.
Right. Which would make sense to me.
Anyway,
Foxes and all, get in there and.
chase the rabbits.
Well, I don't think they're gonna chew wire, but I mean, I do think it's important that wildlife should be able to move freely.
Again, just a clarification there would help before the next board meeting.
of course,
Either
yep.
way. Okay.
I just got a question on the actual conditional, the actual conditions in that are specifically spelled out. And I'm, if this is homework I should have done ahead of time, I'll freely admit that I didn't do it. Are these consistent with the conditions that were placed on the first project that you all have already
Yes.
embarked on? Obviously, each set of conditions is going to be specific to the ground we're talking about, but is there anything in here that's out of the ordinary, I guess?
It's actually gotten stricter
Yes.
from the original project with Ms.
Okay.
Reed, specifically, soil testing.
Okay,
We had a 3-year interval in some of our, 2 or 3 of our original sites. The current board wanted that to annual, so that has tightened up a little bit.
okay,
We put in there standard, 3 locations, but it would be annual testing submitted to us, results submitted to us. That's the bulk of what is
What's different?
changed and more,
What's different?
And
yeah.
again, it's just as we get more mature in these things, we're
Yep.
tweaking a little bit to make it a little bit better.
The other thing
Protection.
was the looking at the decommissioning. It used to be 7 in the first applications we did. We're at 5,
Five.
reevaluating
Saw that.
because of economy.
yeah, okay,
The economy is moving so quickly, the board felt that 7 was too long of a gap.
got it.
So we're, reevaluate the dollar number that decommissioning bond has to be every 5 years,
Okay.
rather than 7. That's the major changes that have happened
Got it.
through the course of the years.
And
Thank
to that, what I've seen is every 5 years is a good number. I think that that's a really fair number. I'm an economics major, and, I know that cyclical economics over a long period of time tends to be relatively steady, but we have spikes in certain timeframes. And the reality is that if you have a 9% spike over a couple of years, your dollar just doesn't go as far. I mean, in a 5-year period under an extreme situation like COVID, if we were to stay in a long-term war, you might see inflation that would make, even at 5 years, could even make that dollar amount, be worth 20, 30% less than it might have been otherwise.
Right.
And then you'll see on the other end, more likely to be, I don't expect to see like negative inflation again. I think we're in a world economy and it just doesn't really allow for that. But I do think that you generally see a correction that then, your 1 to 5 year may jump a bunch and then it may just kind of stay flat for another 5 or 10 years. But 5 years, I've seen a lot and I think it's a good number.
Okay.
And I know you're new to the planning commission, the background on this document, when we created the revenue share ordinance, we also had Sands Anderson law firm work with us to create this template. I gave them a lot of the prior pre-revenue share ordinances and the different conditions we use on different sites, and then they pulled stuff from all around the state. That's what we came up with, and then Eric Terry Atkins Wilson also looked at this.
Got it.
So this thing has been every lawyer that looks at a document will have a differing opinion sometimes, or the
You're kidding.
ability to improve it. But, this was not something we just made up at a staff.
Well, and that I
It came from lawyers.
I just didn't know if there was, anything particularly more robust or more punitive, for lack of a better term,
No.
in this set of conditions versus what you dealt with on the first project.
Very similar to Ms. Reed.
Got it.
I did have one question about your vegetation, because some of the buffering, at least on a couple sides there, I don't want to say that trees aren't dense, but there's a need, and you put in arborvitae, green giant's going to be added there.
Yeah.
They'll be consistent with size, attempt to be size so that there is a true buffer, protection. So, because if you look at the site right now, you can see a lot through that site, because the trees aren't that dense.
So it would be my recommendation so that it's less, so that it's more clear to, it's my job to work with the landowner and the AHJ to set the rules. It would be helpful to understand maybe what the expectation might be of heights at certain points. And I can work with Robert to provide some guidance on what some other ones have done. And maybe we can add that into the final conditions of setting some guidelines so that we don't just buy 100 saplings because we didn't specify that. I think that might be a really good thing to
Well,
do.
that's what I had, you know, something consistent with what the buffer is right now, so that you have not an eyesore when you're trying to build a buffer there. You need to have some consistency. I know you mentioned arborvitae in there, which are fine, because there's arborvitae in there, but
Right.
just to make sure, there's areas where, to me, it's too visible right now unless the buffer is improved.
Okay. So I can certainly work through what that would look like and maybe like a 1, 3, 5 year. And maybe, this is a question for the board here. Does having the visibility shaded at 5-year reasonable? Having the visibility shaded at year 1 generally is pretty difficult.
You know, speaking of years, I'm looking at your tree species, and one of them is a loblolly pine.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what a loblolly pine looks like when it's 10 years old, but when they're 20 or 30 years old, I mean, it's just a bare tree trunk with all the limbs up high. I mean, there's really no screening.
And that's why you generally have 2 to 3 rows. And so you're gonna spread the species out so that you have your vegetation screening, covering layered, right? It's not just one type.
Yeah, I think that the key is, our responsibility is to have as many sites unseen from highways and
Especially a scenic byway.
especially scenic byways, so that's just critical to make sure we have the right type of forestry going in there.
Right.
You know, what you're putting in there to make sure we can have that scenic byway, not be looking at mirrors and panels.
Okay, so year 1, no visibility from the scenic byway. Year 5, no visibility from any surrounding neighbors, something along the lines of that?
We can do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's part of what would be in there.
Okay.
You know, it
And
should be there.
it's my recommendation, even if I write it down, we want to make sure that that's like conditioned, so, because otherwise,
Yeah.
what I said, what you said, if it's not in a condition,
No,
it
it'll
could,
be in the, it'll be in
Perfect.
there. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
A loblolly pine would not be a good choice, I
No, it
wouldn't
would not.
think,
No, it would not.
period, because they'll break off in an ice storm.
Yeah.
15 years,
Yeah.
they'll be on your fence. And
okay? Then why
That's
don't
one of
we?
the last things you want is a buffer.
Yeah, so why don't we also make a comment that loblolly pine should not be used as a buffer?
And the arborvitaes are listed, that's fine, but
Okay.
loblolly pines are not our best buffer.
That's absolutely. There's one last thing that I wanted to mention, and it's just because I think that it's important. It was mentioned, and I could just walk by it, but I think that it's something that is important to this community is setbacks. And so right now, our setbacks are about 75 feet. Do we want to have a discussion about that at all, about maybe getting more
Yes.
towards? Okay. So I talked to my engineer in between talking to Robert this afternoon and being here today. And because on the north side and on the northeast side, we have 2 different arrays, if it would be possible to have a 75-foot setback on the north side from the parcel boundary to the panels, and then on the south, west, and east side, have 150 feet. That would allow me to shift my panels a little bit north, and it would have a minimal impact on my current design. So it would allow us to continue kind of in the path that what we see, and increase the boundary in the areas where it would affect the actual neighbors more so.
That's something we should put into conditions.
Yes.
Without being
Okay.
conditions, okay.
Perfect. And again, Robert, does it specify to the fence or to the panels? It's always my preference to the panels so that we can always have enough room in the fence. And that can be a little variable.
We could work with you on that.
Okay,
I mean, whatever y'all want to accept on language, it's your proffer, so you can offer it,
Yeah.
and they can choose to accept it, we'll write it up in the
Okay.
conditions that go to the board.
okay. That would be my preference. Parcel boundary to panels is the buffer, again, 75 north, 150 east, south, and west.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Okay, Thank you very much. We may have to call on you again, but right now you can relax and sit down, sir.
Sounds good, thank you.
With that, we're going to open the public hearing. First of all, do we have anybody on the phone? No? Okay. Okay, thank you. We had two people sign up. Mr. Craig Moore, would like to come up to the podium? Okay, great, thank you.
I get forgetful, so I made a list.
Okay,
I don't want the solar farm.
okay.
For one thing, it's right in front of my house, so going in and out, I'll see it. And even if you have that buffer that I'm not supposed to see it, Francis's site on the other side of the field, the solar panels light up like they're mirrors, so I see it anyhow. And with it being that close, I think it's going to decrease my property value because it's right there. And the other thing I'm worried about, the gentleman says there's no hazardous material on the thing, but if one of those panels get broke and it spills, that's a hazardous spill. And his cows could end up in there, whether a gate gets left open or the fence gets damaged and they rub up against it, they break it, that could be a big problem. And that concerns me because that will affect my well. That's how, because the wetlands that are there, that's where I get my water from. The other thing that I'm worried about is all the traffic and the noise. I'm not real happy with the site that went in. I get traffic, tractor trailers that come down my drive, turn around on my front lawn and go back out. And it's so bad. One truck came down and took the front end out of my wife's car, the right fender, and the right door. Then he couldn't speak English. I have immigrants sleeping on a lot in their car because they didn't get paid yet. And the guy was nice and I talked to him and I didn't make a big deal about it. And I still get deliveries. I mean, it happens 2-3 times a week. The truck's coming up and down my driveway. Last night, 2 nights ago, a lady was unloading straw in my yard because she thought that was the solar thing. I don't want to put up with this again. It's a farmland. Let it be farmland. Mr. Reeves and Mr. Dalton roll over in the graves if they knew it was going to solar farms. Thank you for listening to me.
Mr. Moore,
I have, where is your house?
Right next to it.
To the south,
to the south.
directly to the south?
Yeah, that would be the south, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at a map here.
There's a driveway going up the side there, right off the curb.
Well, here, let me, just so I'm clear. So, that's south. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen.
Okay, this is 47, right?
47, I think, is right there.
Right there.
Uh-huh.
And that's the driveway.
And this
going
is
up there. So my house is, that house right there.
Okay, so yeah, that's
So
directly to the
that's,
south.
It's south, you're south of the site. You're just south of the site, yes.
that's mine.
I mean, is it possible to address his concern about his water to do, I mean, regular testing? I mean, I don't know, I'm just
We've
kind
got,
of.
we've got annual testing
There's annual testing,
What
for the
about
site,
his-
for the site.
for the site,
But
yes.
what about his well water? His,
We,
Well,
We
I'm
don't-
not worried about it the way it is now,
Yeah,
okay,
okay? But if something happens up on the site
yeah.
and then panels get broke, whether it's a tree, a cow, lightning, whatever.
right, but I guess,
That's gonna contaminate my, could contaminate
I want to be real clear. I've been on the site. Our Elam site had broken panels when they were delivered. They don't leak, sir. They're like a computer chip. I could take this iPad apart, and it's a hard it's hard, it's a computer chip wafered with silica glass, and then it's got that membrane on top, which is like what's on your windshield, the safety glass. We've got one cut open. I mean, they don't leak.
Well, I mean, I think we should somehow address his concerns about traffic.
We need to do that in considerations for the project as we look at, what we're gonna change it all with the way we have it set up in here. That's, but the traffic is something that needs to be addressed for the current project.
Between the, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's really irritating.
yeah.
When they come up,
Yes,
they
see, there he is.
speak, and then they say, well, Google said straight in.
Well,
And there's 5 signs out there, 4 signs with addresses.
okay. Well, again, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate all your input. Thank you. No, that's what we're here for. Mr. Elder?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the owner that's going to be having the solar on my site. Basically, I'm just looking to the future, my family, kids, insurances, taxes. Watching Frances with her solar being brought up, I figured it was a safe way. Because at one time, I was in talks with batteries, and I know that's a hot topic. So I figured solar would be a safer bet. So that's where I am at this time. So I appreciate y'all's vote today, and, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Elder, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Very much appreciated. And nobody's on the phone, correct? Okay. What's that? Yes. First of all, does anybody else wish to speak for or against? Okay. If not, can the applicant come up and just give a little rebuttal?
I genuinely hear you. I will reach out to the contacts that I have with the other project, and I will ask them if they can put up better signage to make it extraordinarily clear where they have to go for the solar project. When I was there today, I wasn't paying attention to that because I knew the area well enough. But I think that it's not, yeah.
You got a big sign out there right on the curb with an arrow.
What's that?
And they still miss it.
I drove right past it and didn't really pay attention, so.
Mr. Moore,
Absolutely, right, yeah. Again, I know
excuse me,
the
time
area.
out, time out. Just so we can keep the meeting where it needs to be going.
Yeah,
We're asking for rebuttal back here.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry, but we're not looking for this
Okay.
back here. So
Okay.
your rebuttal, we need some questions answered.
On a staff level, I'm gonna handle your concern.
okay.
You and I have talked
Yeah,
3
yes.
times on the phone about this project, and the sheriff nor anyone else has reported an accident or misdelivery. So I will reach out. That's my job.
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't report the accident. I'll
Well,
make that
but it wasn't, yes,
okay. And I didn't report the immigrants either, that was asleep in the back.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll make that clear.
what I need from you is I need you to help me do my enforcement side, because I have a pledge to you. We've got conditions, they're good conditions, on the job that's open, the Miss Reeves site. So, yes, sir, we can.
Please, that's the important thing, that we can handle the concerns you have from the county side.
We'll, we'll do a site visit and have a discussion with the GC on the other project.
And we'll address the GC from the county side.
And then
Okay.
whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
proffering or signage or whatever, you can do that with
Yeah.
this side.
yeah, thank you. I don't have the conditions in front of me, Robert. Do you remember if there's a condition specific to signage?
We have traffic.
Yeah.
We have traffic, delivery routes to the site will include a portion of State Route 747, State Route 719 Lima Road, to the proposed entrance as shown in Exhibit A, your site plan of the application. There's nothing about signage.
Okay.
You can certainly beef that up if you wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is, I think, an effective way to help navigate people to the right location. And so it would be my preference to beef that up by adding additional signage to be presented and approved by the county prior to building
Okay.
permit approval.
Sounds good.
Delivery hours may be another consideration. So that we
Absolutely.
don't have night deliveries.
Yeah, so it would be my preference to, any work that creates noise to be done during business hours, so generally 8 to 5. And then, delivery's an interesting one. I've never,
Where's your laydown yard going to be? That might, if you can go ahead and designate with your general contractor, where's your laydown yard going to be?
I believe
we may-
it's,
We may have some flexibility, some compromise here in your laydown yard which will alleviate some of his concerns.
I think one other thing you can do, and I'm from staff,
Yeah.
denote your parcel boundary with flagging or
Yeah.
signage
Yeah.
around the border of the project.
right,
I think that's something that would lock it in. Once somebody gets there, they know the area.
Yeah.
Whether that's a sign on a post in different locations, but I think clear flagging of your site to disseminate it between the other two, because yours might come online and be under construction in a similar timeframe than the other site that hadn't been built yet. It could happen.
The other thing that I'm thinking, because it is totally possible to miss a sign and go down the wrong way, if we were to make a turnaround on Andrew's property outside of the permitted area, does that make sense to, then they wouldn't, then if they did go down the wrong way, you know, emergency turnaround area, you could kind of note that, and then they wouldn't turn around in the neighbor's driveway. I don't know if that makes sense,
How
but
about?
I'm just
how
trying to
about
find
laydown-
solutions.
Laydown yard and turnaround area shall be clearly denoted
Okay,
on the site plan and denoted on the site.
okay, and then beefed up signage.
Yeah.
Okay,
How does that sound to y'all? I can write that up.
I think we need buffers, we need signage, delivery timing, and laydown area.
Your owner's got a question.
Yes.
I got, I think I brought this up to you when you visit today. The proposed site or road, turnaround spot would be, if they do go the wrong way, they'll be going towards Craig's property, but then they'll veer to the left. And they'll go up on pasture, and then go up the top part of the pasture. And then exit out to Mr. McClintock's. That will be the turnaround spot.
okay.
So,
I don't think so. I can fix this in the conditions.
but that's the proposed road,
Okay, good. That's what I'm hoping.
how they want to go in to Mr. McClintock's.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That helps there. Okay.
Okay.
I think the major thing we have to look at is, in conditions, we need to add better wording for signage, deliveries, timing, naturally laydown area, and certainly the buffers, to make sure all that's handled.
Okay,
Okay? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Should there be nobody else to speak, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time for the board to discuss. I think understanding Mr. Moore's concerns and also basically the comments and questions regarding traffic and everything here, I think there's some things we need to add, if, you know, either way that we need to add as conditions. Mr. Love, you can handle that, correct?
Yeah, I think what you could do, Jesse, could you hope not leave
Yeah.
yet?
Jesse, we need you in here. Jesse, Jesse, we need you in here. Thank you.
Need you
We need your attention.
at the podium.
Yes, sir. We need you up here. Yeah, you're speaking to the board now. Or the board's speaking to you.
Okay, sorry about that.
So,
Okay.
are you prepared to make those items that you mentioned about the signage, the lay-down yard as a proffer to the county, as a condition, proper condition?
Yes,
And
Okay.
delivery timing, we talked about, laid on everything that.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, we agree.
Those
to all
conditions, we'll add to the current conditions that we have in there. We'll add these for this project.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll let you send those to me.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll have them in time for the board. Y'all can talk over them again, but you can accept his proper conditions and add them to the conditions.
Your word's gonna be, we're gonna fix these conditions.
Yes.
Okay. That's the
You
biggest thing.
understand?
Ought to be a little note there about him sleeping in the vehicles at night.
Those are, I think,
Those are
conditions.
enforcement action that I've got to take care of. Yeah, that's a civil matter.
Yeah, that's not this
Yeah.
project here, but you're right, those, we need to take care of Mr. Moore's concerns.
I'm going to take care of Mr. Moore's issue.
Okay, okay, just so, because whatever happens here on the vote, we have to make sure that we have your word that these conditions
I mean-
will be reflected in there.
I mean, you can make a proffer if you wish that no staff will be on the property after business hours.
Yeah.
You can do that,
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That's easy, just,
other than security.
yeah, right,
okay.
okay,
So that's up to you.
yeah. But you think we can handle all these in conditions?
Yeah, I'm gonna write them down, and then, before I leave, I'll make sure that I have the full list so that we're in agreement, and then I'll work with
You,
my
Mr.
team.
Love, can make sure it's worded properly so that when it, should it go to the county board of supervisors, then those conditions are in there. That addresses the concerns we have.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, back to the board. Thoughts and questions regarding this project? I guess where we stand right now, we'd be looking for a motion either, again, to accept, decline, or table based upon the current conditions with the confirmation that the additional conditions will be added relative to buffers, signage, delivery timing, laydown, all that. So,
And remember, I've got a very specific motion.
Yes.
Because this is a 2232
Yeah.
comprehensive plan review, so I don't normally script it, but I would, if anybody has, whatever the motion is,
Yeah.
you stay close to that, hit those bullet points. Appreciate that.
The only thing, I'm back to Mr. Craig.
Mhm.
If I'm right, he's on that south side.
yes,
And he's already committed to changing that buffer. The
Yeah.
drawing here is 75 feet,
Yeah, we'll fix
and
that.
we're
Yeah.
gonna change that to 150.
150.
So
150.
that's gonna address.
That's one of the things that put
His-
condition change,
his
we put
issue, so-
150 feet, yes.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's when I was mentioned buffers, that's the buffer comment we're gonna have in there is the 150 feet from the south side. Any other comments, questions, or thoughts from the board? With that, then, we would look for a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Prince Edward Solar 2 LLC proposed 3.8 megawatt solar energy facility as described the special use permit application is substantially in accord with the 2045 Prince Edward County Comprehensive Plan, that the Planning Commission recommends approval of the special use permit request with the stipulated conditions.
And the proper conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure we-
Okay, we have a second then? Okay. Can we just go around for the group here? Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mr. Page,
Yes.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Prengerman, yes. With the changes, we recommend we move this on to the County Board of Supervisors. Okay. I want to thank everybody for your time here. Naturally, you guys will get together in some time, okay. Review of supervisors' actions.
Yes, so the Milestone Tower site was approved. It was approved at the amended location. And we don't have construction documents for that yet, but I think they'll be forthcoming. They've got to go through the FAA review on them to get it pre-cleared for the new site. But I think that will be, I think I'll have plans and be able to, plans within a month, within the month.
They were gonna have to do some soil testing because they were gonna move.
They got to do geotech over again in FAA, yeah.
But that hasn't happened
No,
yet.
it
it's
has
in
not.
process.
Got it.
The soil testing has been done.
Oh, has it?
Was
Okay,
it-
good.
Was done? Okay.
Good,
I think we'll see plans in May,
good deal.
early May.
For
Yep.
safety reasons, that's
Yeah, we've got-
critical.
Yeah, I've already been in touch with Mr. Yates on that. I don't have any old business. On the new business, I do want to put something on your radar. Of course, you know, the governor signed a lot of legislation. One of those legislations that appears like it's moving forward is the retail of THC products, also known as marijuana. I've had one farmer and one landowner in the community send me an email about, he intends to grow this crop. Of course, it has to be a licensing through the state of Virginia, application fee, be approved, of course.
Right.
So that could happen as a agricultural by right project. The other thing we've had just an email from a scoping company, not a particular, they're reaching out to a lot of localities on the feasibility, doing a feasibility study for someone, we don't know who, of this dispensary. So right now, we don't define in the zoning ordinance dispensary. That's a new thing that's to Virginia. Other states and localities across the country have defined those. County Administrator wanted me to put that on your radar. Do you want staff to look into that use? Right now, the only thing we could classify it as is a retail sales establishment. And I'm just gonna bring it back to one of my, something like a Wawa or a Dollar General. Wawa's, that's actually a gas station, but like a Dollar General. It would be a special use permit in all districts except for commercial, which retail sales establishments are by right with administrative construction plans in commercial. So right now, if we classify it as that, it's just a retail store. But if we define it as a dispensary, you could go, the planning commission and board could have the ability to put a special use permit on any site. And that could be distances from public facilities, schools.
Right now, it can be put adjacent to a school.
Right now, yes, right now it could be put,
Next door.
Yeah,
right
next
next,
door,
near Wawa.
Yeah.
I'll just use that for example.
Sure.
Now, of course, so do y'all want staff to look into this matter a little bit deeper and bring something to you?
I definitely think
I
that's,
think,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, it's coming, and try to get ahead of it as much as we can, I think
Exactly.
is beneficial.
yeah.
I think we owe it to the citizens of the county. We really do.
Yeah, because a dispensary could include processing.
Yeah.
So we want to probably define a processing facility, define a dispensary, just looking at it very similar to what we do with breweries, wineries, and distilleries. We want to kind of, obviously we've got to go by state code, but I can pull that together for you.
I think it's important to do that.
Okay?
Had the bootlegger next door to me, then marijuana dispensary.
What that would look like, I'd bring something to y'all probably in a future month. Right now, I do want to say, just jumping over to the next meeting, we probably will not have to have a meeting in May. I've got, probably, if I don't have an application filed in the next week and a half, we won't meet advertising deadlines.
Okay.
But I could probably bring this, I think we'll have a meeting in June. I'm talking to some folks, one's a car detailing guy.
Okay,
So we probably will have a meeting in June, but I can definitely put something together by then.
okay,
For consideration. That would be an ordinance amendment.
okay.
So that would come to y'all and then go to the board. On the side thing, the other thing in state code is at the board level, the board will look at taxation. There is a local ability to tax these products if you allow the facilities. So that's I'm not, that's just informational
Right, I
information.
understand.
But we just don't have it defined, and county administrator, I felt like, want to put that, give y'all, see what y'all thought about that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
We don't want to just push it into retail.
I think dispensing has to be considered.
Yeah. And then also we look at processing, because if you have a processing plant, that might actually need to go in industrial.
Yep.
So we'll look at that.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Consideration, I recommend we adjourn. Any comments against it? There we go. We're good. And Mr. Love, when you and Mr. Stanley start sampling.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I like my bourbon, but I don't want nothing else.
Roger, what do we think?
You know.
County Administrator? Well,